I stared at my reflection in the car window, adjusting my necklace for the 100th time. My wedding ring caught the sunlight, sending tiny prisms dancing across the glass. 6 months of marriage, and this was the moment I'd been dreading. Our first real visit to Ryan's parents' house as husband and wife. "You look perfect," Ryan said, squeezing my hand. "Mom's going to love you." I forced a smile, but my stomach churned. The last time I'd seen Diane was at our wedding, where she'd managed to criticize everything from my dress to the catering while maintaining a plastic smile. The memory of her voice still made my skin crawl. "Oh, how unique. I suppose that's what people are doing these days." I'm Neve, and I was about to walk into the lion's den. The house loomed before us, a pristine colonial with manicured hedges and perfectly aligned flower beds. Everything in its place, just like Diane preferred. Ryan grabbed our overnight bags from the trunk while I smoothed my dress, chosen specifically to meet his mother's conservative tastes. Tom, Ryan's father, opened the door before we reached it. "There's my boy!" he boomed, pulling Ryan into a bear hug. Then he turned to me, his eyes crinkling warmly. "And my new daughter! Come here, Neva." As Tom embraced me, I caught sight of Diane hovering in the doorway. Her lips were pressed into a thin line, her arms crossed over her chest. She didn't move. "Mother?" Ryan called out. "Aren't you going to say hello?" Diane's eyes swept over me like I was a piece of furniture she hadn't ordered. "Oh, I didn't see you there. Ryan, darling, come give your mother a proper hello." She brushed past me as if I were invisible, enveloping Ryan in an embrace that lasted far too long. Over his shoulder, her eyes met mine, cold and calculating. The message was clear. This is my territory. Inside, family photos covered every wall. Ryan's childhood, his graduations, family vacations. I searched for our wedding photo but found nothing. Not even a small frame tucked away on a side table. "Dinner's almost ready," Diane announced, leading Ryan toward the kitchen by his arm. "I made your favorite pot roast. The recipe's been in our family for generations." The emphasis on our family wasn't subtle. Tom touched my elbow gently. "Let me show you where to put your things, dear." Upstairs, he paused in the hallway. "Give her time," he said quietly. "Diane, she's set in her ways." The guest room was immaculate, like a hotel suite nobody had ever slept in. I placed my bag on the bed, careful not to wrinkle the perfectly pressed duvet. At dinner, Diane orchestrated the seating so Ryan sat between her and his father, leaving me alone on the other side of the table. Every time I tried to join the conversation, she'd talk over me or change the subject. "Ryan, honey, how's the new project going? The one I told you to push for?" "It's great, Mom. Actually, Neve helped me prepare the presentation." "Oh, that reminds me," Diane interrupted. "Janet's daughter just made partner at her firm. 32 and already so accomplished. Some women really know how to apply themselves." The pot roast turned to ash in my mouth. Under the table, my nails dug into my palms until they left crescent-shaped marks. Ryan remained oblivious, caught up in his mother's attention. Tom shot me sympathetic glances, but said nothing. Later that night, as I lay awake in the guest room listening to Ryan's steady breathing, I made a decision. I wouldn't cry, I wouldn't run, and I absolutely wouldn't give Diane the satisfaction of breaking me. This was just the beginning, and I had a choice to make: submit to her reign of subtle tyranny or find a way to fight back. The woman who'd birthed my husband had declared war with a smile and a passive-aggressive barb. Game on, Diane. Game on. The morning after our first night at Diane's house, I found an envelope slipped under our door. Inside was a yellowed newspaper clipping about failed marriages and the modern woman's inability to maintain traditional family values. No note, but Diane's message was crystal clear. I crumpled it in my fist just as Ryan stirred. "Everything okay?" "Perfect," I lied, shoving the clipping into my pocket. The paper felt like it was burning against my thigh. Downstairs, Diane had transformed into the picture of maternal devotion. She'd prepared a spread that belonged in a magazine: fresh scones, fruit arrangements, 3 types of juice. Ryan's eyes lit up like a child's. "Your favorite breakfast, sweetheart," she cooed, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Just like when you were little." I reached for a scone, but Diane's voice cut through the air. Oh, those have nuts. Ryan mentioned you have an allergy? I made these specially for him. My hand froze midair. I'd never told Ryan about any nut allergy because I didn't have one. Mom, what are you talking about? Neve loves nuts. Really? Diane's eyebrows arched with practiced surprise. But you told me. Well, perhaps I misunderstood. Memory isn't what it used to be. Tom cleared his throat from behind his newspaper. Diane, you never forget anything. The tension crackled like static electricity. Diane busied herself with the coffee pot, her shoulders tight. More coffee, Ryan? The beans are from that little shop you loved in college. Actually, I spoke up, Ryan's cut back on caffeine. Doctor's orders. Diane's pour faltered slightly. A mother knows her son's preferences. A wife knows her husband's health concerns, I countered, maintaining eye contact. Ryan glanced between us, confusion clouding his features. It's just coffee. Of course it is, Diane interrupted, her smile never reaching her eyes. Though I do worry about all these new restrictions in your life, darling. You used to be so free-spirited. The implication hung in the air like poison gas. Later that morning, while Ryan helped Tom with some yard work, Diane cornered me in the kitchen. I'm organizing Ryan's birthday party next month, she announced, scrolling through her phone. I've already contacted his friends from college. I assume you'll want to contribute to the catering costs. Actually, I've already planned. Oh, sweetie. She patted my hand with manufactured sympathy. These things require experience, connections. I've been planning Ryan's birthdays for 34 years, but you're welcome to help. My jaw clenched. I'm his wife. For 6 months. Her smile turned razor sharp. I've been his mother for 34 years. Time will tell if you last as long as the others. Others? Oh. She pressed a hand to her chest in false concern. He hasn't told you about Caroline? Or Rebecca? Well, it's not my place. She glided away, leaving me with a head full of questions and a heart full of doubt. I knew she was playing me, but the seeds were planted. Who were Caroline and Rebecca? Why hadn't Ryan mentioned them? That evening, as we packed to leave, I found another envelope in my suitcase. Inside was a photo of Ryan with a stunning blonde at what looked like a college formal. On the back, in Diane's elegant script, "Some things are better left in the past, or are they?" I stood there, trembling with rage and uncertainty, when Tom appeared in the doorway. "Don't let her in your head," he said quietly. "It's what she does best." Why does she hate me so much? She doesn't hate you. She fears you. He sighed heavily. You're the first one who might actually be strong enough to break her hold on Ryan. As we drove home that night, Ryan chatted happily about the weekend, while I turned the photo over and over in my coat pocket. I had two choices: let Diane's psychological warfare break me, or find a way to beat her at her own game. The woman had decades of experience in manipulation, but I had something she didn't, nothing left to lose. She'd made sure of that herself. 3 weeks after our visit, my grandmother's antique pearl necklace vanished during a Sunday dinner at Diane's house. The same necklace I'd worn at my wedding, the last gift from Gran before she passed. Are you absolutely certain you wore it? Diane's concern dripped like honey-coated poison as we searched the house. Memory plays such tricks sometimes. I had photo evidence, a selfie taken with Ryan in the car, pearls clearly visible. But when I tried to show her, my phone was nowhere to be found. It turned up an hour later in the garden, thoroughly soaked from the sprinkler system. How unfortunate, Diane murmured, watching me shake water from my ruined phone. Technology is so unreliable these days. The pearls never reappeared, but other things began to go missing during our visits. My favorite earrings, a bracelet from Ryan, even my wedding planner with all our original vows. Each time, Diane would orchestrate elaborate searches, making sure Ryan witnessed her dedication to helping find my misplaced items. I started documenting everything. Photos before and after visits, detailed notes of Diane's comments, timestamps of when things disappeared. The pattern was obvious, but proving it was another matter entirely. Then came the email from my boss. Nevaeh, I received a concerning call from your mother-in-law, he wrote. She mentioned you've been struggling with anxiety, and might benefit from a leave of absence. Normally, I wouldn't consider family input, but given her background in psychiatric nursing. My hands shook as I read the rest. Diane had never been a nurse. She'd worked in real estate her entire life. "Everything okay?" Ryan asked, finding me still staring at my laptop. "You look pale." "Did your mother ever work in psychiatry?" He frowned. "No, why?" I closed the laptop. "No reason." That night I couldn't sleep. Next to me, Ryan's breathing was steady, untroubled. He had no idea his mother was systematically dismantling my life, piece by piece. The next morning, a thick manila envelope arrived. Inside were printouts of old social media posts, photos of me at college parties, screenshots of ancient tweets taken out of context. A post-it note read, "Would Ryan's firm appreciate seeing their rising star's wife's history?" Such a shame if this affected his promotion. I was in the bathroom, dry heaving, when my phone buzzed. A text from Tom. "Need to talk. Coffee. Alone." We met at a cafe far from both our homes. Tom looked older than I'd ever seen him, worry lines deep around his eyes. "She's done this before," he said without preamble. Caroline and Rebecca weren't just Ryan's exes. They were almost his wives. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. What happened? Caroline's family business mysteriously lost several major clients. Rebecca's teaching career ended after anonymous complaints to her school board. He rubbed his face. "I kept quiet then. I won't make that mistake again." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because you're different. You keep records. You think strategically." He leaned forward. "And because I found these in Diane's desk yesterday." He slid an envelope across the table. Inside were my missing pearls, broken and unstrung, along with a half-written letter to Ryan's firm detailing concerns about my stability. "She's getting bolder," Tom said. "More desperate. She knows you're stronger than the others." My phone buzzed again. Diane, asking if we'd join them for dinner that evening. She had wonderful news about Ryan's career that she wanted to share. I looked at Tom, at the scattered pearls between us, each one representing a piece of my life Diane had tried to break. "I'll be there," I texted back. Tom raised an eyebrow. "You have a plan?" "Yes," I said, gathering the pearls. "It's time to show Diane what happens when you push someone too far." I'd played defense long enough. Each pearl represented a weapon in my arsenal. Every documented lie, every manipulated situation, every orchestrated accident. Diane thought she was dismantling my life. Instead, she'd given me everything I needed to dismantle hers. The annual Morrison family barbecue should have been my moment of triumph. Instead, it became my public execution. I'd spent weeks preparing, determined to prove myself to Ryan's extended family. My potato salad recipe had won contests. The decorations were Pinterest perfect. Even my dress was carefully chosen, conservative enough for Diane's approval, but still stylish. I should have known she'd been too quiet lately. "Everyone," Diane clinked her glass as 30 relatives turned to look. "I have wonderful news. Ryan's being considered for the Singapore office." My glass nearly slipped from my hand. This was the first I'd heard of it. 3 years minimum," she continued, beaming. "Of course, with Neve's situation, I've offered to go help him settle in." The silence was deafening. Ryan shifted uncomfortably beside me. "What situation?" I asked, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. Diane's eyes widened with practiced concern. "Oh, darling, we don't need to discuss your episodes here. Family understands." "Episodes?" "Ryan told me about finding your medication." She turned to the crowd. "Depression can be so difficult for young marriages." I didn't take medication. Never had. Ryan was staring at me now, confusion etched across his face. "Mom, what are you—" "Show them the bottle, Ryan, the one you found in her drawer last week." My husband's face drained of color. I thought they were yours, Mom. You said you were holding them for—" "Why were you in my drawer?" The words came out sharper than I intended. The gathered family watched like spectators at a tennis match. Tom stood in the corner, his face dark with recognition. "Sweetheart," Diane pressed, "there's no shame in getting help. We just want what's best for Ryan's career. A fresh start in Singapore could be wonderful, for both of you. The implication hung heavy. I could either go and prove my instability in a foreign country, or stay behind and lose my husband. Ryan, I said quietly, did you accept the position? He wouldn't meet my eyes. It's not final, but Mom thinks... I didn't ask what Mom thinks. Diane stepped closer, placing a proprietary hand on Ryan's arm. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. Neve seems... agitated. That's when I saw it. The slight tremor in her hand, the calculated gleam in her eye. She'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months. The missing jewelry, the sabotaged phone, the workplace rumors. They were just practice runs. This was her endgame. Actually, I said, reaching for my phone, let's discuss it all right now. I pulled up my documentation folder, photos, dates, recordings, 3 months of methodical evidence gathering. Starting with these antidepressants you planted in my drawer, I turned to the crowd. Did anyone know Diane never worked as a psychiatric nurse? That she's been impersonating medical professionals to interfere with my job? The color drained from Diane's face. Or how about the mysterious disappearance of Ryan's previous fiancées? Caroline's ruined business? Rebecca's teaching career? Ryan's head snapped up. What? Neva, Diane's voice took on a warning edge. You're proving my point about your stability. No, Tom's voice cut through the tension. She's proving mine about yours. He stepped forward, holding up his phone. On the screen was a video, Diane in my drawer, planting the medication bottle. The family erupted in whispers. Ryan stared at his mother, decades of manipulation suddenly visible through newly cleared eyes. Singapore was never about my career, was it? He asked quietly. Diane's mask cracked. For a moment I saw raw panic in her eyes. Everything I did was for you, she whispered. No, I corrected her, my voice steady. Everything you did was for control. The barbecue ended early that day. As relatives hurried away, I stood in the aftermath of Diane's carefully constructed world crumbling around her. But instead of satisfaction, I felt hollow. Because now came the hard part, helping Ryan understand that sometimes the people who claim to love us the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. And revenge, I was learning, wasn't always as sweet as survival. 3 days after the barbecue disaster, I found Tom waiting outside my office. His face was etched with worry lines I'd never seen before. Diane's selling the house, he said without preamble. 30 years of memories, gone. She's not even telling Ryan. The autumn wind whipped around us as we walked to a nearby cafe. My coffee grew cold while Tom explained. Diane had been systematically liquidating assets, transferring funds, preparing for something big. She's not retreating, I said. She's regrouping. Tom slid a folder across the table. Inside were bank statements, emails, phone records. I've been gathering these for months. There's more. So much more than just what she did to you. The documentation was meticulous. Diane hadn't just sabotaged Ryan's previous relationships. She'd orchestrated entire life events. Job offers that mysteriously fell through when he got too independent. Chance meetings with people she'd carefully selected. Even our first meeting hadn't been the coincidence I'd thought. She wanted you to marry Ryan, Tom said quietly. What? You were perfect, successful enough to make Ryan proud, but with just enough insecurities she could exploit. She planned to mold you, control you, then break you when you stopped being useful. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages. Why are you showing me this now? Because she's planning something bigger than Singapore, something that could destroy both you and Ryan if we don't stop her. A text lit up my phone. Ryan, canceling our dinner plans. Emergency meeting at work about an unexpected promotion opportunity. My stomach dropped. She's not done with the Singapore plan, I realized. She's just changing tactics. Tom nodded grimly. She's convinced Ryan you're unstable. Now she'll orchestrate a series of career opportunities that will slowly separate you. Distance, doubt, divorce. That's her playbook. We have to tell Ryan everything. He won't believe it. Not yet. Diane's had 34 years to build her influence. We need something undeniable. The cafe's overhead lights flickered, casting shadows across Tom's face. I have a plan, he said, but it's risky. If it fails, you could lose everything. I'm already losing everything. Losing. He pulled out one final document, a power of attorney form Diane had tried to get Ryan to sign, claiming it was for tax purposes. It would have given her control over his financial decisions. We let her think she's winning, Tom said. Let her believe her Singapore plan is working. Then we use her own tactics against her. You want me to play her game? I want you to beat her at it. My phone buzzed again, Diane this time, inviting me to lunch tomorrow, to clear the air about the barbecue incident. Her timing wasn't coincidental. She's already moving pieces into place, Tom warned. Whatever she's planning, it's happening soon. I stared at the messages on my phone, at the carefully crafted paper trail in front of me. Everything in me screamed to run straight to Ryan, to force him to see the truth. But Tom was right. Diane's influence ran too deep for frontal attacks. If we do this, I said, there's no going back. We'll be manipulating Ryan too, in a way. Sometimes, Tom replied, gathering the documents, you have to break someone's illusions to save them from a bigger lie. I thought about the medication bottle in my drawer, the missing pearls, the countless small humiliations, about Ryan's confused face at the barbecue, caught between loyalty and doubt. Okay, I said finally, tell me the plan. As Tom outlined his strategy, I felt something shift inside me. The woman who'd walked into that cafe, the one still hoping for family harmony, still clinging to moral high ground, was gone. In her place was someone harder, someone ready to fight fire with fire. One condition, I added. When this is over, we tell Ryan everything. No more secrets, no more manipulation. He deserves the whole truth. Tom nodded slowly. Even if it costs you your marriage? Even then. Tomorrow, I'd smile through lunch with Diane, play the repentant daughter-in-law, let her think she was winning. But tonight, I had evidence to gather and plans to make. The game was changing, and this time, I intended to write the rules. The trap was set perfectly, every detail planned, every contingency considered, which is exactly why I should have known it would all go catastrophically wrong. Diane arrived at our house precisely on time, wearing concern like expensive perfume. I brought those family photo albums you asked about, she said, setting down a leather-bound collection. Though I'm not sure why you needed them so urgently. Ryan sat between us on the couch, exactly as planned. Tom positioned himself by the doorway, ready for his part. The stage was set for Diane's carefully documented manipulation to come to light. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Back off, or Ryan sees everything. Attached was a photo of me and Tom at the cafe, heads bent over documents. Another of us meeting in a park. A third outside my office. All perfectly innocent, all looking absolutely damning. Everything okay? Ryan asked, noticing my face. Perfect, I lied, just as Diane opened the first album. Oh, look, she cooed. Ryan's first day of school. He was so independent, barely looked back at me. Unlike now, when he needs his mother's advice about everything, don't you, darling? The plan had been simple. Let Diane incriminate herself while Tom recorded everything. Use her own words to expose her manipulation. Instead, I sat frozen, watching her play her role flawlessly, while my phone kept buzzing with more photos. Speaking of advice, Diane continued, I had lunch with Caroline yesterday. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Ryan stiffened beside me. Caroline? He asked. My ex-fiancée Caroline? Mm-hmm. Poor thing's business is struggling. She mentioned some interesting things about why she really left. Diane's eyes met mine. About certain people making certain threats. My phone buzzed again. A video this time, me telling Tom about my plans to expose Diane. The audio was edited, cutting out context, making it sound like I was plotting something sinister. Actually, Tom stepped forward right on cue. I have something everyone needs to see. So do I, Diane interrupted smoothly, pulling out her own phone. These arrived anonymously this morning. I was hoping they were fake, but... She turned to Ryan. I think you should see who your wife really is. The photos appeared one by one, Tom and me, looking conspiratorial. Documents spread between us. One particularly damning shot of him touching my hand consolingly, the angle making it appear intimate. What is this? Ryan's voice was hollow. It's not, I started, but Diane wasn't finished. There's more, she said softly. Bank records, phone logs, secret meetings going back months. She touched Ryan's arm. I didn't want to believe it either, sweetheart. But when Caroline told me about similar photos from before your engagement, that's a lie, I said, but my voice shook. How had she known about our plan? How long had she been watching? Show him the video, she told me. The one you just received. Show Ryan exactly what you've been plotting with his father. Tom stepped forward. Ryan, don't. Ryan stood up, his face ashen. Just don't. I need air. He walked out. The front door closed with a quiet click that felt louder than a slam. Diane gathered her albums, victory gleaming in her eyes. Such a shame, she murmured. History really does repeat itself. First Caroline, now this. Perhaps Singapore would be best for everyone. After she left, Tom and I sat in stunned silence. She knew, I finally said. She knew everything. We never had a chance. Never. No. I stood up, my legs shaking. You were wrong. We can't beat her at her own game. She's had decades of practice, and My voice cracked. I just lost my husband. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Diane. Checkmate, dear. Don't worry, I'll take good care of him in Singapore. I stared at our wedding photo on the wall, at Ryan's smiling face. In trying to save our marriage, I'd given Diane exactly what she needed to destroy it. The irony would have been beautiful if it wasn't so devastating. Ryan didn't come home that night, or the next. On the third day, I found moving boxes on our doorstep, Diane's final touch. I was taping up the first box when the doorbell rang. Caroline stood there looking exactly like her photos from Ryan's old albums. We need to talk, she said, about Diane. 10 minutes later, we sat in my kitchen, the moving boxes a silent audience. Caroline's hands shook as she pulled out a familiar-looking manila envelope. She sent these yesterday, said if I didn't help her, she'd make sure everyone knew about the embezzlement. What embezzlement? Exactly. Caroline's laugh was bitter. But she has documents, bank statements, all forged, all perfect, just like the ones she used 3 years ago to convince Ryan I was unstable. My phone buzzed. Diane, final dinner tonight, 7 p.m. Don't disappoint Ryan again. Carolyn saw the message. Don't go, it's a trap. I know, I stood up. That's exactly why I have to. At 6:58, I walked into Diane's house. The dining room was set for 4, crystal glasses, fine china, family silver. A farewell dinner fit for a perfect family. Just in time, Diane smiled. Ryan's on his way. Tom's picking him up. How long have you been planning this? Since the day he met you? She adjusted a fork with precision. You were perfect, you know. Just strong enough to make him feel successful for fixing you. Just weak enough to be controlled. Until you weren't. Where are the real photos? What photos? The ones you edited. The originals that prove what you did to Caroline, to Rebecca, to me. Her smile never wavered. In a very safe place, along with evidence of your affair with Tom, your mental health issues, your financial mismanagement. It's amazing what people will believe with the right documentation. The front door opened. Ryan's voice mixed with Tom's in the hallway. It's over, Diane. No, dear. It's just beginning. Singapore will be wonderful for those of us going. Ryan entered, his face drawn. Behind him, Tom carried a laptop. Show him, I said quietly. Tom placed the laptop on the table, opened it to reveal a video feed. On screen was Diane's safe deposit box, its contents spread across a bank table. The real photos, the original documents, everything. Caroline's brother works for the bank, I said. Turns out she wasn't the only one keeping records. Diane's hand trembled, rattling the crystal. Those are private. Like the private investigator you hired to follow me? I stepped closer. The one Tom hired first? He's been working for us for weeks. Every photo you took, every document you forged, we have the originals. Ryan, Diane turned to her son. You can't believe. Stop! Ryan's voice cracked. Just stop, Mom. I found the medication you planted. Dad showed me everything. I did it for you, she whispered. Everything was for you. No. Ryan moved to stand beside me. Everything was for control. Diane's facade cracked. For a moment, I saw something raw and desperate in her eyes. You'll leave me. They all leave. You drove them away, Tom said gently. And now you're driving Ryan away too. Singapore was never real, was it? Ryan asked. The job was. Diane's laugh was hollow. I just made sure you'd need your mother there to succeed. The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Finally, Ryan spoke. I'm not going to Singapore, and you're getting help, Mom. Professional help, or we're done. You'd choose her over your own mother? I'm choosing truth, he said, for the first time in my life. Diane looked at each of us, Ryan's determination, Tom's sadness, my quiet defiance. Her perfectly orchestrated world lay in ruins around her. What now? She asked, and for once there was no manipulation in her voice, just fear. I thought about revenge, about making her suffer as I had. Instead I said, now we all start over, with the truth. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's reconstruction. The therapy office smelled like lavender and secrets. Diane sat across from me, her perfect posture a stark contrast to the casual comfort of the room. Between us, Dr. Chen waited patiently. I brought something, I said, placing Gran's broken pearl necklace on the coffee table. I found it in your jewelry box last week. Diane's fingers twitched. I was going to have it repaired. No, you weren't. The silence stretched until Dr. Chen spoke. Diane, why did you take the necklace? Because she didn't deserve it. The words burst out like water through a crack. She walked into our lives, took my son, and expected everything to be perfect. Those pearls, they represented a family history she hadn't earned. Like you earned yours? I asked quietly. Diane flinched. Your mother-in-law did the same things to you, didn't she? I pulled out an old photograph I'd found while helping Tom pack. That's why you sold her china set after she died. Why you redecorated the house. You were erasing her. She was cruel, Diane whispered. Controlling. I swore I'd never be like her. Dr. Chen leaned forward. Sometimes we recreate the very patterns we're trying to escape. Outside, rain tapped against the windows. Somewhere down the hall, a door closed softly. I found this too, I said, placing a small worn notebook beside the pearls. Your journal from your first year of marriage. Diane's face went pale. Where? The same box as the pearls. I recognized the handwriting from all those notes you left me. I opened it to a marked page. You wrote, I feel invisible in my own home, like I'm playing a part in someone else's story. A tear slid down Diane's cheek, smudging her perfect makeup. That's how you made me feel, I said. How you made Caroline feel. Rebecca. We were all just characters in your story. I was protecting him. No, you were protecting yourself from being replaced, forgotten, erased, just like you erased your mother-in-law. Dr. Chen watched us carefully. This wasn't our first session together, but it was the first time we'd approached the real wound. The pearls, Diane said finally. They reminded me of my mother-in-law's jewelry. The pieces I was never allowed to wear because I wasn't family enough. I gathered the broken strand, letting the pearls pool in my palm. Then helped me restring them together, make them into something new. Why? Her voice cracked. After everything I did? Because we're both afraid of the same thing, losing the family we fought so hard to have. Ryan was waiting outside when we finished, Tom beside him. They'd taken to having coffee together during our sessions, rebuilding their own relationship piece by piece. Okay, Ryan asked, seeing my red eyes. Getting there. I touched the small box in my pocket, the restrung pearls, now shortened into a bracelet. The remaining beads had been made into matching pieces. One for Diane, one for any daughter we might have someday. Tom hugged Diane briefly. They weren't living together yet, but they had dinner once a week. Small steps. As we walked to our cars, Diane called out, "Neve?" I turned. "I found something else of yours. In my desk." She held out a familiar envelope. "The original photos. From your wedding. I'd like to frame one, if that's okay." The envelope felt heavy with possibility. "Come over tomorrow? We can choose one together." She nodded, and for the first time, her smile reached her eyes. Later that night, as Ryan and I got ready for bed, he noticed the new bracelet. "Gran's pearls?" "Part of them." I touched the cool beads. "The rest are waiting for the future." "You're amazing, you know that?" He kissed my forehead. "After everything she did." "It's not forgiveness," I said. "Not yet. It's reconstruction. Because sometimes the hardest person to forgive isn't the one who hurt you, but the part of yourself that wanted to hurt them back." The bracelet caught the light, each pearl holding a fragment of our shared story. Broken, restrung, transformed into something neither perfect nor ruined, just real.